Well, welcome back for another, I guess we'll call these episodes. We're going to finish up our wide receivers. Never got to it, so we'll finish up the wide receivers, do the running backs. I'll try to do the running backs tomorrow. I'm actually flying out. But let's go ahead and get into it. Jaden Higgins. Start off, and I mentioned yesterday my two favorite receivers are coming up just because they weren't getting enough publicity. Trey Harris might have been, but Jaden Higgins definitely wasn't at first until the Texans decided to make him the second pick of the second round. And then because his 40 time was great, him being 6'4", 214, you start looking at different metrics, and we'll get into it here in a second. But all of them are great for him. Even when you look at his metrics for the previous season. But for this season, he had 11, right under 1,200 yards, 87 receptions, 9 touchdowns. He was a senior, and that's the thing. They knock you if you're a senior just because they're like, you should have came out your junior year. But a lot of times that does not – a lot of times it doesn't matter. If you're good, you're good. Doesn't matter when you come out. Usually the elite prospects, okay, they might come out their junior year, and I might need to do a study on it just to make sure. But a lot of times you have these guys who are 4-year players who are fine, and they're good as. Now I think people are talking about when they talk about the 3-year guys, they want the number one wide receivers and stuff like that. And which some of these guys could turn out to be. Well, actually, I'm interested in looking at a list to see if that's true. But when talking about Jaden Higgins, his measurables, they match up to me with the top guys. Him being able to run a 4.4, 6.4 is amazing. Honestly, for me, just metrics-wise, he should have been a first-round pick. Let's see what they say. He was a 2-star coming out of high school, which is interesting. But if you look at this, they have him rated in the 90th percentile for everything except blocking. And your receivers, you're not really worried about it. They have him as comparisons. It's weird, to be honest with you. They have Yosavas, Romadunze, Xavier Hutchinson. Now, Xavier Hutchinson, I can get. They both went to Iowa State. Xavier Hutchinson had a pretty good profile, too. Coming out of school, but just didn't. He never really was one of the top guys, though, to be honest with you. But let's get into this real quick. I left my stuff up from yesterday. All right, scroll down a little bit. All right, so you have Jaden Higgins right here, and we look on the PFF side of things. Jaden Higgins, and I always mention the elite level grades with PFF. 90.3 overall grade, receiving grade 90.5, grade versus man 87.8, 2.6 yards per route run, 2.5 is good. I want to say elite might be 2.8 and above. I can't remember. There's different metrics for different people. I think 3 is the elite standard that you're looking for. 58% on the contested catch rate. I like that. Drop rate very low. Only had 2 drops on the year. So we do like that. I want to say he came from Eastern Kentucky. We just looked it up, and I just did something on my screen. Here we go. We're back. But let's get into his numbers because he had 14 contested catches, but his grade versus man coverage is good. I like that when I'm looking at these metrics. Again, I like looking at man coverage a lot, but I tend to look at zone quite a bit too. So let's come here. And the reason I left this up, because Jaden Higgins, you have Casey Reynolds, not sure. Didn't get that many targets, to be honest with you, with Army. Makes sense, run the ball. But Jaden Higgins has 129 targets, 87 catches, right under 1,200, like we mentioned before. This isn't necessarily the one I want to look at. Let me go back. So they have, PFF has a receiving versus scheme. And that's how I could know how somebody wins versus man versus zone, which I like a ton. Let's only purely look at the 2025 draft class, minimum 20% of the targets. Let's do that. Now, while that loads, Another reason I like him a good bit as a player, he plays out wide, and I like my receivers that can win outside, and then he does play in this slot a bit, so that means it just shows his versatility. So I do tend to like receivers like that. Eastern Washington, even then, and this would have been his sophomore year, he was still good. He was good then, and then he comes over to Iowa State, I believe, and that would have been his junior year last year. Still 85 PFF grade, one outside. So we're about to get into his numbers a little bit more. Okay. We look right here, the receiving grade versus man. This is what this is right here. Trey Harris, obviously number one, and we'll get into him in in a little bit. You have Tet. You have Tet number 3. Kyle Williams, who everybody likes. Elijah Badger, sleeper for me. But then you have Jaden Higgins, number 7. It's just showing that he can win versus man. You see his yards per run, 3.13. Very good. And it just shows you against man coverage, he is winning, and he's actually catching the ball. He's making good plays, and I like to see that. But when I start looking at the zone numbers, you can see here his receiving grade is still 84.7, which is really good. And when we start number 3 in just the class of 2025 in the zone grade. So when I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at Jaden Higgins, 2.54 yards per out run, 84.7 receiving grade. How many targets was that on? 61 targets, so it was a good amount of targets too. You like to see that, in my opinion, that he can win from the outside, and if he needs to if defense running zone coverage, that he can win as well. And this clearly, and I know this is just analytics, but analytics is basically showing what's on the field. And you can see right here that he's winning. He's winning in the zone coverage as well. So that's why I like him. I think he's a really good receiver and better than his second round grade that he got. It's probably similar to Ladd. I don't even think Ladd was this high, to be honest with you, last year. And then this is Andrew Armstrong right here, another guy that I am very high on. He went to Miami, 6'4" guy. He's an older prospect, though, so we'll see how that turns out for him. But he's my Jalen Coker, and I've done a video about that already. But back on Jaden Higgins. So if we're going to go to the game, just the games for Jaden Higgins, let's get into it for a little bit. This side of him is at 215. But you can see right here, let's see, he's had 4 games over 100 yards. But in most games, North Dakota, Iowa, honestly, to be honest with you, when I'm looking at these numbers, I was going to say it depends on who you play. It truly doesn't. When I'm looking at these college stats, of course you can't play like terrible competition, but even somebody like Jalen Coker, right? You have to be able to win against the talent that's in front of you. Because if you're not putting up, and PFF tracks it, so if you're not putting up good grades, even if it's against bad competition, it's not necessarily the greatest sign. If you're that type of guy, when you play against bad competition, you should be winning. And you should be clearly winning. So look at North Dakota. Like, a lot of his are in the 80s. Just looking here, 70s, 80s. And then you see some fall-off games when he plays UCF. Let's see, 58 yards, 69. But he didn't have a game under 50 yards this season, which is a good sign in my opinion. He must have had some drops this game for him. No, did he fumble the ball? Why was he had a touchdown, 53. Oh, because it's 3 on 11 targets. Jeez. But then you see he comes back with a 115 game after that against Arizona State. So you can see he's played different levels of competition, clearly. I'm not sure who Iowa State's quarterback was. I doubt anybody really knows unless you're a true fan. But for me, when I'm just looking at this, it just shows consistency. Because you see a whole bunch of green, a few blues. This one's turning blue, but just a bunch of consistency with him. I think he's going to be a very good player. I know he's with Nico Collins with the Texans, but for me, and I think I did a video before, and I had a few recent drafts, especially in leagues that the tight end premium is not high or non-existent. Yeah, I'm taking him in the first round. I just am. I believe as a number 2 guy with Nico Collins probably taking most of that coverage, and I think that was a problem with C.J. Stroud when Tank Dell got hurt and Stephon Diggs got hurt. When you have somebody like Nico who's going to require sometimes a double team, you'll have somebody like Jaden Higgins on the outside who's able to win. And this might be this is honestly another situation where we talk about the T. Higgins, we talk about who are good number 2 receivers, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, but he's not like Jalen Waddle though, in my opinion. More Devontae Smith is smaller, but Devontae Smith could be a 1 if he needed to. Yeah, he's like in the mold of those guys. It's just number 2 guys who could be number 1 guys, but they just won't be because they have a better talent on the team at the time. Nico, I don't even know if it's going to take him much time to integrate to the NFL system, just to be honest with you. I think because he's 6'4", 215. He runs a 4.4. He clearly catch. He's made highlight plays in camp. He's going to be a good receiver. And I think I'm pretty sure, even though he was early in the second round, I'm pretty sure he's going to outshoot that draft capital. There's a reason the Texans gave him a fully guaranteed contract, because they just believe in the guy. And I would too. At that size. And just the measurables. Honestly, he should have been in my opinion, I take him over Matthew Golden. I take him over Luther Burden. It's not really a shot against them. I just think he's a better receiver. I think he has more talent. He's a big, and plus I think Green Bay needed a true X receiver, and I think this is Jaden Higgins. And Green Bay now would have been as high on him if he went to Green Bay. I'm not sure, just because they have so many targets and so many weapons on that team. But I could have seen the vision. Matthew Golden is kind of similar in size as the rest of the guys that they have. So I'm not really too I don't know. It's not really what I'm thinking of when I look at their team. But Jaden Higgins, super high on him, and I think he can be a great guy on that team. Let's go to my next guy. And actually, I need to respond. Okay, our next guy, a guy that I was hoping to get in a good bit of drafts, and I did, because he fell, especially early on. Oh, I guess let me go to Draft Buzz since they have him number 7. Trey Harris. Yeah, Trey Harris, my favorite, probably one of my favorite guys. We already saw some of the stats of him earlier. Trey Harris, 6'2", 205. He got hurt. I want to say he played 8 games this year. I think it was really 7, because I think he only played a few snaps that one game. But still, had over 1,000 yards, 60 receptions, 7 touchdowns. And when you think about it, and he's another guy, he came from a small school, then goes to Ole Miss, and he dominates. And my thing about Trey Harris, he didn't just dominate for 1 year. He dominated for 2 years. Okay, but when you see Trey Harris, he is 6'2", 205, as we mentioned. They say his hands aren't as good, but his quarterback rating when targeted, Jackson Dart loved throwing to him. They don't have him rated as high, which is fine. 3-star prospect, and that's why he went to a smaller school. They have him, again, Cedric Tillman, Xavier Hutchinson, Roma Dunze. Roma Dunze is getting a lot of comparisons. I'm not sure why. And I guess they had him a 2-star prospect at 24/7 Sports. But so Trey Harris is another guy. When I'm looking at the numbers, let's because he was good 2 years in a row. So in 8 games, he has 60 receptions, 1,030 yards. Last year, 12 games, less receptions actually, more targets, less receptions, 986 yards. So you could just see he got better. Grade versus man coverage, 95. That is elite tier. So for everybody saying that he is not winning against man coverage, that is not true. 61.5% contested catch rate, 89.4 receiving grade. All of these are elite, and the 5.12 yards per route run is unheard of, and that's the reason I would be taking a shot on him. And again, it's not a shot to Matthew Golden or it's not a shot to Luther Burden, but I need guys that can win on the outside. And especially when you have somebody like Ladd who's going to be working over the middle, then to get a guy like Trey Harris, who now he does have to beat out Mike Williams, he does have to beat out Quentin Johnston, but there's a reason they wouldn't have took Trey Harris if Quentin Johnston was doing his job. Quentin Johnston's not doing his job, so they went and found another receiver who can catch the ball. And he made a statement the other day that he's a guy that can catch the ball. Now, I did see a quick shout out. I did see the little over 7.5% drop rate. So that's 5 drops on the year. So I'm interested about that because we don't need another Quentin Johnston with Justin Herbert. Yeah, because this guy can be really good in this offense. Yeah, because there's going to be so much focus on Ladd just because of what he did last year. Somebody like Trey Harris could ease that pressure off of Ladd quite easily if he can win on outside. And I believe that was a lot of people's problem with him because they were like, hey, he's just a big guy. He's a jump ball receiver. He's just a catch guy. But you start really looking in, diving a little bit deeper into the numbers, you see he's really not. Against man, let's go to against man, then we'll touch zone after that. Against man coverage, we already mentioned the best in college football last year. On 19 targets, 15 receptions. Let's see. I'm sorry, not 19 targets? 19 targets. 398 yards, which is absolutely insane. 4 touchdowns. Basically, don't let him beat you deep. That 10.47 yards per hour run is absolutely insane. Yards after catch was amazing, too, at 11. Now, 76.5 grade against zone. Not the best. I'm not going to lie to you. I'll click to see what is rated in the class. But the 4.05 yards per route run is great, to be honest with you. I want to say they said, I was looking, and this stat was a while back, but Devontae Smith had the highest yards per route run that Heisman season that he had. And it was 4 point something. I can't remember if it was 4.6. It was something in that effect. So for Trey Harris to exceed that, and I know people are going to say he really didn't play anybody, didn't play the greatest competition. Hey, man, you play who's in front of you, okay? And you're supposed to beat up on the bad guys. And my only thing about that is he still had a good grade the previous year. So that's now his yards per route run, I don't think it was this insane. But his overall PFF grade was still good. So that's my only thing about talking about Trey Harris in that light. And so now, of course, he had more targets. They had to play zone against him. I'm pretty sure people were realizing he is destroying us in man cup. We can't play man against this guy. Against him and Jackson Dart, yeah, we can't play man against this guy. And so now he did have more drops in zone, which is interesting. Let's see, 9.5% in zone to literally 0 versus man coverage. So that would be because teams are. Let me think. You don't want to see. The thing is with Chargers, you don't really want to play zone because they got the running game and they have Ladd. So you would want to play the man, but if Trey Harris is going to be able to beat them, then that makes that offense, that starts to change that offense because Ladd can beat man coverage as well. So that makes that offense almost too hard to beat. So if Trey Harris can show that he can win against zone as well, this offense will take off because Omarion Hampton is good in himself. Let's get to Trey Harris. So with Trey Harris, and not Kentrell, not that Trey Harris, but Ole Miss Trey Harris. All right. And what we'll do, we'll go to 2 seasons. Now, as we see down here, he played at LA Tech. I believe he's from Lafayette. And the 2 seasons, so honestly, at Lafayette Tech, he really didn't do, well, he did solid. Let's just say he was a good receiver. But he goes to Ole Miss and becomes a great receiver. Just analytically. He becomes a great receiver analytically. And this season, you see, he destroys Furman, destroys Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, Georgia Southern. He must have had some drops because he put up 225 yards that game and only achieved an 81.8 grade. Let's see what happened that game. If we get, yeah, he had a drop that game. So that means, yeah, he had a monster game. And that's the thing about PFF. Yeah, you have a drop that drops. You could see it clearly dropped his grade a ton because this game was 179, 2 touchdowns. This was 225, 2 touchdowns. This 11 receptions, 14 targets, of course, but 8 receptions. And then against Kentucky, you can see he put up 176 yards, and I'm assuming he had a drop, and he did. You can see the one. You can see the one right here. Yeah, you can clearly see it. So, and PFF, they take away from it. And it makes sense. It makes sense. No matter how good your receiving grade, and he had a fumble that game. That doesn't help it either. Yeah, he has a fumble and a drop that game. So that dropped it. Honestly, it looks like it drops it 10 points a piece because this would have been an outstanding game too. So his PFF grade could have been even better without the drops and the fumbles. So I guess that's what you just have to look at. But Trey Harris looks to be that guy. And even in the Florida game, he really didn't play because he got hurt. Now this game was South Carolina with 3 for 4. I'm not sure what was going on in this game. I'm not truly sure. 4 targets, still had 81 yards, which is incredible. But it's fumbling. So that might be, no, still that same one fumble. Okay. Because he had 2 fumbles on the year. So it was against Kentucky and South Carolina. Still put up numbers, but some of these games are incredible when you actually look at them. And then you have LSU, and then you have Florida. Okay? And I believe the Florida game is the one that he tried to come back and he wasn't fully healthy. Because he only has 2 targets this game, which shouldn't happen, especially with a receiver his caliber. But then against LSU, you can see Trey Harris, if he would have stayed fully healthy, he might have won the Biletnikoff. Yeah, he's just that good of a receiver. I'm interested in seeing his 2023 year because, all right, let's just take a quick look at this. He destroys Furman, Middle Tennessee, Georgia Southern. Okay, he does play against Kentucky, but he does have a fumble this game. And he might have had a drop too. And then South Carolina definitely had a fumble. And I'm assuming LSU, let me see if he had a drop. He had a drop? Okay. Because he had 4 drops on the year. And all those games that he had a drop, basically his PFF grade got dropped 10 and one got dropped 20. The Kentucky game got dropped 20 because he had a drop and a fumble. But then he had another drop this game. I guess that's the catch he didn't make. And it dropped his grade. So Trey Harris probably, and he was hurt that game, Trey Harris probably would have had a better season, which is absolutely insane to say. Okay, so let's go. I'm just looking at his previous year because the thing is he didn't play nobody, but clearly he was putting up yards against some of the better competition. Okay, so the year prior, let's see, 9 targets against Mercer, Tulane, 2 targets, but he makes both of them. Alabama, not sure what is going on early in the season, but it doesn't look like he was playing much early in the season, or I just don't know. Because I doubt he was getting shut down because he's getting shut down like crazy. But then he plays against LSU, puts up 153. Arkansas, only 1 catch, 26 yards. Auburn puts up numbers again, 102. Vanderbilt, 6 for 67. Texas A&M, 11 for 213. Georgia, Georgia shut them down, 2 for 12. L.A. Monroe, 4 for 63, and then Penn State, the bowl game, he goes for 7 for 135. So he had a good year, honestly, even this year. And this would have been now. The thing with Trey, he's a little bit older, but from my understanding, Trey Harris was a quarterback first, and then became a receiver, which means he has a decent understanding of the game. He shouldn't. Let's just say that he should. His yards per route run, when you actually look at it, for his career, it's 3, and he's never under 2 at any point in his career, even the game, even when he only had 1 reception. That's crazy. But both seasons here, and then as soon as you get to Ole Miss, never under 3. So Trey Harris This is going to be interesting with Trey Harris because he's probably a big play threat. He's probably going to be really good, and people are missing out on him. The guy I want to go to real quick is I got to figure out what draft class he's in. What year am I in? 2022. Let's go to 2023 because I want to see where Rashee Rice is. There he goes. Okay. So, Rashee Rice, even though I believe he plays a lot in the slot, or I think he does in NFL. But, so look at this. So this would have been his not sophomore. This would have been his junior, then his senior year. Okay. He went from the slot to playing out wide. PFF grade, receiving grade was good. Yards per route run was at 3. Contested catch over, I think the mark is like 45 or 44 and a half. That we look to be better. Grade versus man actually was not good, believe it or not. But I'm gonna show you something here in a second. But you can see here, still put up 1,300 yards, 96 catches. Rashee Rice, 16 contested catches. He was dominant, okay? Dominant. But fell in the draft, I'm assuming because of his speed, and he went to SMU. All right? But when we look... Okay, what we're going to do is go to the 2020, I believe, would it be 2022 or 2023? Hold on, I can tell you in just a second. I think it's the 2022 season. Yeah, let's go look at the 2022 season. Okay, let's take this draft class year out. Let's go to 2023 draft class. And I want us to look at something real quick before we end this stream, because I just found out I have something to do. But when we look at, we're about to see 2 players, one who we consider a really good wide receiver right now, potentially a great wide receiver, and another one in Rashee, who, if he didn't get hurt, I'm pretty sure we'd be valuing him as a top 5 receiver right now. And let me refresh this. But let's go back to Trey Harris, because this is the main reason I'm talking about it. These guys that have played for a while, like Rashee, like Trey Harris, I don't think, and this is when I say like some of our better receivers, and I'm going to check, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to go check PFF. Not PFF, Keep Trade Cut here in just a second. Because our guys that have played 4 years, 5 years, man, don't count those guys out of like your grades and whatnot. Because even somebody Rashee, career 2.34, went over 2 his junior year, then 3 his senior year. Yeah, somebody like that. And you would count him out just because where did he go drafted? 2nd round? Yeah, he still got 2nd round capital, 56 pick. And everything here is letting you know, hey, 85.9 offensive grade, receiving grade 85.6. Everything's letting you know that he's actually a good receiver. So go ahead and take a shot on him. Especially when you look at the yards per route run. And I know yards per route run, a lot of people don't like that metric, but I believe you have to combine it with a lot of other metrics, in my opinion. And this being winning against man versus zone. Now against man, as we saw earlier, he didn't really win against man. But let me come here. Against zone, two of your best receivers in the NFL right now, Puka and Rashee Rice. And this is the reason I'm pretty sure a lot of people were high on Xavier Hutchinson. Because I want to say Xavier Hutchinson did solid. He did okay. Yeah, he did solid. The same thing with Puka. He did solid against man. He didn't really do good against man. He did solid. Rashee did not do good against man coverage. But with the league, and I don't know defenses. I'm not going to pretend I act like I know defenses like that. But with too high safety coverage, being able to be good in zone coverage, too high safety, being able to be good in zone coverage helps out a lot. So you can see he had 1,000 yards in the zone. I didn't realize that when I looked at it. And Puka was hurt a lot if you look at his numbers. But you look at this, Puka's 1, he's 2, Hutchinson is 3, and I'm pretty sure that's why a lot of people were high on him. But where did Hutchinson go in the draft? Well, it doesn't matter because Puka went 5th round. I wonder where Hutchinson went in the draft. Well, he went 6th round. He went after Puka. Jeez. Still 6'2", 205. Yeah, still solid guy. And then you got somebody like Puka, who's 6'2", same 6'2", 205, goes in the 5th round now. And let's just take a quick look. You look at Puka's receiving grade, and this is honestly one of the most frustrating things of not playing Dynasty before like 2 years ago. Because I would have known about Puka, or doing research on Dynasty, let's just say that, because I would have known about Puka and I would have gotten Puka everywhere. Yeah, I would have taken him everywhere just because I know about him. And again, he's a 4-year guy, but you could take the Washington year. Did he have that many targets? Neither of these years he had too many targets, but his yards per run were incredible to not have that many targets. And then, but both his years in BYU, 3.44, 3.53. And to me, it reminds me of Trey Harris, because Trey Harris went from 3.1 to 5. And I'm like, man, is this somebody like you're not really truly looking at that's about to dominate in the NFL? Now, it seems almost blasphemous to say that when I say Trey Harris could be better than Ladd McConkey. But is there a scenario that we could think of that Trey Harris is actually a better receiver than what Ladd is? This is Ladd's junior year, I believe. Or no, sophomore year. Okay. Yeah, junior year, better numbers. Possibly. I'm not sure, because Ladd played on the outside. And as you see here, his offensive grade is good. Yards per out run, 3.26 himself in his junior year, which was an eye-opener. We actually started diving into the stats a little bit light, but who cares? I want to say this is about Travis Hunter's size, to be honest with you. 6 foot, 185. Yes, it sounds about the same. And people are down on Travis Hunter about his size, so that should actually give you a little bit more insight. Ladd is a tough guy, and I'm assuming Travis probably is too. He plays both sides of the ball. Yeah, you look at Ladd's numbers, and Ladd was playing with Brock Bowers. Trey Harris, he wasn't. Was Trey Harris playing with anybody? I think Juice Wells, but Juice Wells didn't even get drafted. So, or if he did get drafted, I don't think Juice Wells got drafted. But anyway. Yeah, Trey Harris is a dude to look at when you start looking at these numbers, and I need to get back to him. Yeah, when we start looking back at Trey Harris, I think he's going to be one of these guys that you're going to be sad that you did not take in your drafts. Yeah, him and Jaden Higgins. I think those are two guys that people are going to be frustrated and wonder where they came from, especially because right now it looks like they're number 2 guys. But eventually, I'm not going to say they're going to take over the offense, but the problem is Nico gets hurt, it seems, every year. Ladd did have his history of injuries, but I'm not sure if he put it past them or not, but we'll see. But I think Trey Harris can steal. I think he can still win. And like I said earlier, it seems blasphemous to say that Trey Harris could be the number one receiver on that team. But if he can win on that outside, and if he's as dominant, if he could be as dominant against man coverage as he was in college, yeah, the sky is the limit with Trey Harris. And he'll be one of those guys that you wonder where he came from, and you start realizing how good Trey Harris actually is. One last thing, what did I want to look at? Because I wanted to look at keep trade cut for a reason, and honestly, I cannot remember right now. Maybe I wanted to look up where players are ranked on here. Because, let's see. Jaden Higgins, I'm assuming. Okay, here goes Jaden Higgins, 3,700. Where's Trey Harris? Trey Harris should be near here. Yeah, Trey Harris is 35. So they're about where they should be. Yeah, I wouldn't. But would I trade Jaden Reed for Trey Harris? I would. Tyreek for Trey Harris? It depends on if I'm a contender. If I'm a contender, I probably don't do it. But if I'm a rebuilder, I'd definitely do it and try to see if I can get a little bit more. Chris Godwin, Trey Harris, I think the same situation for the rebuilders versus the contenders. Josh Downs for Trey Harris, I do it. They don't have a quarterback right now. Brandon Ayuk, I'm trying to get off of Brandon Ayuk, and it looks like, according to this graph, a lot of people are too. Yeah, but this is honestly what I'm thinking. Same thing with Jaden Higgins when I'm looking at this. I would try to get, me personally, if I have Luther Burden, I'm trying to get Jaden Higgins or Trey Harris. I'll trade Luther Burden, try to get a little plus, then get Jaden Higgins or Trey Harris. That's just me though. Yeah, I believe these are like certain guys. I just looking at these PFF numbers and looking at like the analytics and stuff like that, that I kind of believe in, just because it's not necessarily I did like all the research and that I know everything about these wide receivers, but I'm pretty confident that I have a good understanding about wide receivers. Okay. And the reason I'm coming to 2024 draft, great class, right? Great class. Oh, let's do this real quick. Now, one of the concerns would be, and we don't even know if he's truly bad yet because I know he had the injuries, if somebody like Xavier Legette didn't turn out being good. Because Xavier was in the league, was in college for 5 years. And that would be the case against somebody like Trey Harris. But my only thing about that is Trey Harris has been good every year that he was in college. It seems like, I think, except for the 1 year he only got one target. And it might have been COVID year, to be honest with you. But Xavier Legette would be the guy, and we honestly, truly don't even know if Xavier Legette is bad yet because we just know about the injuries. Xavier Legette could come out and have a monster year this year, and then honestly, if he becomes good, that will like quell all my fears that I have about my wide receivers. Now, he's the one. Somebody like Malachi Corley, I didn't believe in. Well, I did believe in before I understood what I was doing, and I started realizing that Malachi Corley only played in the slot, or let's just say primarily played in the slot. So, of course, these numbers are good. Okay. So I think the slot numbers, you have to be able to do both. But all right, let's get to the person I actually want to get to. Malik Washington, I was super high on as well, but again, he only plays in the slot. But Jalen Coker, all right, played at Holy Cross, didn't play not like, and again, he played at Holy Cross, didn't play great competition. But Jalen Coker, when you actually dive into the numbers, he was good against man coverage. Contested catch rate was good. Yards per route run, 3.51. I really like that. And then his receiving grade, 90.5. So when I'm looking at a receiver and I'm trying to, especially like my deep dives, dart throws, this is what I'm looking for. And the reason when I actually started realizing, he played out wide. Didn't have to worry about it. So somebody like Efton Chisholm right now, I have taken a few swings on him because, and I guess I could show here in just a second, even though I do have to go, but I can show it. But somebody like Efton Chisholm played primarily in the slot, so I'm a little hesitant. So if I can get him for free, I'll get him. But if I have to pay too much fab for him, I'm not going to get him. Or if I have to use a draft pick, I'm not getting him. I'd rather you get a running back, a random running back, to be honest with you. But yards per route run, this is the reason I was absolutely high on Jalen Coker. I was trading fourths last year to go get him, or I would wait after the draft and see what people would trade so I could get him. I think there was only one league, or no, it was a couple leagues, 2 leagues that I could not get him. One because the guy just wouldn't trade with me. Other guy I think knew exactly what I knew. But when you look at Jalen Coker, he had basically 2 good years, his junior year and his senior year, which is what you want. You want somebody to be good or break out in their junior year. He still had, in his sophomore year, 714 yards, which isn't bad at all. Had 15 touchdowns his senior year. And so when I'm looking at this, because a lot of people don't like the contested catches, but for me, I like them. Even somebody like Justin Jefferson, who I don't think PFF really has his numbers correct in here right now, just because I don't know if they was tracking as well back then. But he was a contested catch merchant in college. And now, and he played only slot. So I think I want to say his junior year, his last year, he only played slot. So people would be like, hey, he only plays slot. But my BTJ rule comes into play. And I know he's before BTJ, but that's when it comes to play. He played with Jamar Chase. Great receiver. So that's where it comes into play. Same thing with A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf. I'll say 2 top-level receivers played with each other. And that's why I'm higher on Emeka Egbuka. Because I believe that he had to play the slot, and he basically didn't have nowhere else. They had to line him up somewhere to try to get him to win, just because they had somebody else that was better. But Jalen Coker is a prime example when I'm just looking at people and looking at teams and looking at dart throws. This is somebody that I'm looking at, and I look at him like, oh, I'll take a shot in the dark on this guy. I'll go get him quite easily. Let's go to, because he's high in training camp right now. Let's go to Efton Chisholm, because a lot of people are high on him right now. And now the thing is, I have taken a few shots, but am I super high on him? Not necessarily. Not like Jalen Coker. I haven't traded anything to go get Efton Chisholm. And really, trading a fourth is not really like saying too much, to be honest with you. But like, even I tried to trade a third for Jalen Coker before. So somebody like Efton Chisholm, right? So primarily plays a slot. Played out wide a little bit, but primarily plays a slot. Has good numbers. Receiving grade, good. I'm not sure where the grade versus man coverage is at, but it's not on here. But I'm assuming it's decent because he has a 3.5 or 4.5 yards per route run, 58% contested catch. He was solid in, honestly, both years. Let's go see if he's a senior or junior. But it looks like he had good games the entire time, which is pretty good, pretty solid, to be honest with you. And let's go to Efton real quick. But so somebody like him, unless there's somebody else on his team at Eastern Washington who is a beast, I really wouldn't take my shot too much. Now, I did get him just in case, because again, anybody can be wrong in this business. But I think he could be solid, but he only plays a slot, so I'm not sure how good that's going to make him, to be honest with you. You know, he has really good PFF grades when I'm looking at these numbers. Really good. Been in college 5 years. Pretty sure. Probably got a COVID year. Let's see. Yards per route run. This is really his best year, yards per route run, this year. I know the Patriots staff say he's a really good receiver, which, is nice to hear. Only played at Eastern Washington. 23, probably be 24 when the season starts. That truly doesn't matter to me. If you're a good receiver, you're a good receiver. It doesn't really matter how old you are. But yeah, this is somebody, he wouldn't be in my Jalen Coker tier. I will just say that. He would be probably in somewhere where I would say my Malik Washington tier. And the reason I say Malik Washington, let me let you see what Malik Washington had his final year at Virginia. So Malik Washington's final year at Virginia. Look at his PFF grades: 91.1, 92.4 receiving grade. Now Malik primarily played out the slot. No question about it. Primarily played out the slot. After 4 years, transferred to Virginia. I'm assuming this is the COVID year. And you can see that the yards per hour run, they get up to 3.15 that last year. Now, he was really good this year. I remember seeing some of his games and I'm like, oh, this is the best receiver in college, it seemed like sometimes. I believe he probably had the most catches at 111. But when he gets to the NFL, you realize these slot guys can really, unless he can win on the outside, they really only have one role they can truly play. And that's the reason they get drafted in the 6th round. And that's the reason they aren't drafted as high, because they can't do anything else, especially if they can't win on the outside. That's why somebody like Tyreek is special, because even though he's 5'8" and probably 200, he can win on the outside. And now, of course, speed, quickness, that plays a factor into the reason he is so great. But somebody like Malik Washington, and that's what opened my eyes last year, to look to see what the difference in was with certain guys. And I started realizing it was a slot versus the wide snaps. That made a major difference for me when I'm actually looking at these numbers and trying to decipher what makes a good college receiver, how they translate to the NFL. And I can't remember if I showed yesterday, but let me go back to the 2024 draft class. Okay, we got Malik Neighbors because I think I just went straight to. Okay, so Ladd McConkey, because for everybody that says a slot receiver, he's a slot receiver in the NFL. In college, primarily played out wide, 118 to 32, 275, 90, and 92 to 82. That was about even. And gray versus man wasn't good, but gray versus zone is pretty good. So when we say Ladd McConkey, you got to put this in the context. Receiving grade is still good, not too many drops. But stuff like that when you start looking at certain receivers. Now, Troy Franklin is one that really got me just because how good he was in college, especially analytically. I was thinking it really could be something. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought Trey Harris was going to be really good. Now, the drop rate, is concerned at 10, but college, you never know. But 9 drops is crazy when you go back and look at it. The contested catch rate at 36.8, not the greatest, but he's not the biggest guy. I want to say he was 6'2", 6'3", 180 something. 3.32 yards per out run, gray versus man, receiving grade. That is the reason, and he played out wide. Taking a shot. I knew he went in the 4th round, but I'm like, hey, they drafted him too low. We truly don't know until after this season, but I believe after the season we really will know a little bit more. We have to see how he progresses. Does he get in Sean Payton's offense a little bit more this year, or does Marvin Mims take over that number 2 role, or do they trade Cortland Sutton because they start to believe in Troy Franklin? It's going to be – we'll see. We'll know a lot going into the middle of the season about Troy Franklin. Same thing with Xavier Legette. We'll know a lot about those 2 receivers. If Jalen Coker outplays Xavier Legette and then Legette can't get on the field because of Coker or because of Thielen, again, we'll know a lot about that situation because of those things. Because Jalen Coker is going to work because he was an undrafted guy and just trying to make the team. And then Troy Franklin, he didn't really have anybody on his team that was that great. Great enough. Tez Johnson played out the slot, so you can't really even account for him. But we'll see. Right now, I will stick to those 2 receivers just because I know I have to go do something, and I keep saying that, but I just had to show a few other things. But I'm going to stop there. Like, watch, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I will see you guys next time.